Hi Chess Reddit. So this is a game I am recording, and it was me as the black pieces against Grandmaster Akobian in a Simul game from 2012. It was in Washington, and basically it was Akobian playing the white pieces, I was playing the black pieces, and I hadn't played a tournament game or even recorded a chess game for a few years. I play a fair amount online, but I'm pretty rusty, and I was 1990 when we played this game, um, and it went really well and kind of got me back into playing chess. So I thought I'd share it with you guys. I made a lot of mistakes near the opening and middle game, but at the end I think I had a good plan and it really came out great. So here we go. Akobian played d4. I was black. I played d6. Knight f3. Knight f6. c4. Knight bd7. So I don't usually like things like fianchettoing in the King's Indian anymore, because I found that I couldn't get good enough attacks, especially against really strong players who would just demolish me on the queen side. So I figured that the old Indian was a good shot, and that's kind of what I enjoy playing in blitz games as well, and even some regular games, because it's something a little different that people don't have an opening preparation against. They have to just play solid chess. So that's why I played the old Indian. Basically, rather than fianchetto, I bring my bishop to e7, a castle. I try to get some space on the queen side, try to get maybe a little counterplay on the king side, and the center either gets locked up or opened, and then my bishop gets some room to breathe. If he takes my e5 pawn, I'll take him back. So he played bishop g5, which is a good move. He's pinning me. I break the pin. He plays e3. Okay, I don't usually play a lot against e3. Usually their pawns on e4, which I think is a little more strong, a little harder to play against. But e3 is good too. It just is really safe. It keeps that d4 pawn safe. Bishop e2, again a little more passive than most of the bishop d3s and bishop c4s I'm playing against, but it's good. Queen c7. So this is the structure I'm used to. And it's really hard to break through when he's a pawn on e3, I'll admit that. It's hard to find moves that are good for me. So he brings his rook on f to d1, because perhaps he wants his rook on a to go to c1. And now I play a6. So this was an interesting point for me. I usually like playing a5 and bring my knight to c5, but there's not a really high likelihood I can get rid of this d4 pawn, so it's pretty challenging for me to get my knight to c5. So I figured an a6 b5 type break might be good, an a6 b6 break might be good. If I play b6 right away, I might later have to worry about things like d5, and my light squares being weak and him hopping a knight into this b5 square. So that's why I played a6 first. I was thinking of playing b5 at some point, but b6 is what I want to play first, and then I just fianchetto my bishop. And I'm not sure if this is the best plan for me. It's hard to know what I'm going to do. Maybe I bring my knight on f8 to g6 and then play h6? I'm not exactly sure right now. I'm basically bringing my rooks into the game, and I have a kind of cramped position I'm looking to break out of. So I bring my rook to c8. I think d8 might have been better in hindsight. He takes pawns here, which I was happy to see. And then maybe at some point I can move a pawn on the queen side to get some space, or to unlock my bishop now I play c5. With his bishop in, he's threatening to maybe at some point take h7. It's guarded pretty well right now. So I play c5 now. I open up my bishop, which I think I weaken my light squares a lot, but my bishop is locked up. So he makes a great move here. He pins my knight, and again, this was why my rook should be on d8. The rook on c8 is just an awkward move, so I move it there now. I unpin it, I help defend my knight. He plays b5, so we lock up the light squares on the queen side. And then he plays e4. So I saw this move, and just a few moves ago, I knew this type of thing was going to happen. When I played c5, I knew I was about to get kind of killed on the light squares. But I was so cramped here. with my rook should have been on d8. Perhaps my bishop should be on f8. And maybe I should have some sort of e4 threat at some point. That might be good. I'm used to having a knight on c5 too. Maybe I should move my knight on f8 to g6. That might have been good. Instead, I would have much rather had my rook here, and then I think knight on f8 to g6, and then playing h6 before that, or knight e6. I think these would have been good options, because my light squares are not good now. His knight is going to hop into d5 at some point, and I'm going to have some trouble. So I attack his bishop, he retreats it, I move my knight, now his knight hops in, I take it, he has that passed pawn now. I have a good pawn, but it's not nearly as good as d5. So we're just doing mass trades now. I saw the h6 and his knight would have to go back, and then I could trade off the bishops. So we just did tons of trades. So basically now we have this kind of weird pawn structure position where I am worse. And let's see what the computer has me as. Yeah, the computer has me down a full point, which I think is fair, because my position is just cramped and not nearly as good. So he plays knight d2. I bring my rook up because I see he's going to play knight c4 and attack that pawn and that pawn. And I want to get this rook in the game before that happens. So I do. Now he's attacking this pawn, so I guard it. So I didn't want him to play f4, so I kind of doubled up on it. I'm bringing my queen into the game and guarding this b6 square. He's bringing his rooks in. Okay, so I played g4 here. Basically, I'm clamping down the light squares, I'm making it harder for him to break with f4. I'm offering him to trade a pawn if he wants to play f3. And maybe at some point I'll bring my rook over and try to get some attack going with like queen g5 or queen f6. My position is not very good here. I'm down over a point and a half, which is not good at all. So he is threatening f3, he's going to try to break with it. That's good. So now I don't want to trade rooks if I don't have to. He's just completely coming in. And I saw this position, and I saw in this position, I was like, you know, I need to make some sort of plan or I'm about to lose pretty quickly. If I drop this pawn, I'm in a world of hurt after these passed pawns. I mean, only one of them's passed, but they're going to work together to try to promote, and he's just going to positionally kill me. So I saw after f6, my knight, his only route into the king side is actually a pretty good route. If I can get my knight to f8, and then I can get to h7, it's definitely going to g5, and then it's hopping into f3 or h3. There's nothing immediate, but then it can go to d4 later if it wants. He's probably going to sacrifice for it if he can get to f3, so if I can get my knight to f3, I have some fighting chances. My queen is luckily defending b6. I do have to worry about his knight coming to d6 though, but he didn't play that right away. That's what I thought he might play. I thought he might play knight d6. I don't know if it's the best move. Let's see what the analysis says. No, they actually say coming back to e3 is, and knight d6 might not be good because all it does is attack my rook. I just move my rook and I'm okay. But, so he's still crushing me. Rook d2, good move. So now I'm bringing my knight back, and I was just analyzing this pretty intensely, and I think he should have stopped it with anything. Knight h7. I'm still behind a lot, but he played poorly here. He should have played d6. He should have played anything for counterplay, but he moved his knight back to e3, which, as you can see from the analysis, is a pretty big blunder. d6 is his move. That's a good move. I have to start being worried about pressure with d6. With knight e3, I just do what I accomplished, what I was setting out to accomplish. So knight g5, queen d3. He's just guarding the pawn, because I'm hitting the pawn and also threatening this h3 square at the same time. So I do it. And now I should be winning. Yeah, see, now it's a negative, which means I'm winning. I think this was a mistake. It makes it back to even. What I wanted to do was trade like crazy. I was willing to sacrifice a pawn or two, because I saw that he was probably going to play queen e2 and maybe win it. But I should probably play his queen d7, queen over, something like that. But, you know, rook g5 wasn't so bad. It's just like I might have had something a little better. But it worked out pretty well in the game. And then he takes the free pawn. So, it's about even here. but he makes some big mistakes in the next couple of moves that cost him the game. So if they check, he moves king over. I bring my king up. Probably not my best move. So now it's kind of pinned to my king and attack twice. Again, we looked at this after for a minute. This is better for him. He might be able to, at some point, take this and trade off queens. And then after rook e8, d6, he's close to promoting it. I want to look at that, actually. We're going to do a new variation here as a side. I've never analyzed this with a computer before. So he plays knight e5. I bring my rook over. And he plays d6. But instead of taking the knight, which loses, because I'll promote the pawn, I play king f6, I'm winning. That's interesting.
Check.
And it's an endgame now, but I'm winning it. I just have to not get too greedy there. I just have to not let him promote, and I'm fine. So he doesn't do that. He plays queen e5. So rather than take it, though, in the game, I just move my queen over to f7. And he's in a lot of trouble now. I'm threatening checkmate in 1. He should have checked me. And I think we also looked at this. And then after I take, we're looking at d6. But instead, he moves his queen back to a1. I check him. And rather than letting me just take his knight, he decides to guard it. And then here, I play rook to h8. My threat is to move my king, and it'll be checkmate. So he plays d6. I found a cute little checkmate. After king g6, he resigned. At first, I think he was about to take the rook. And then he saw that after he just takes my rook, he resigned too. But after he just takes my rook, I have queen f1, which is a nice little checkmate. So that was my game against Akobian. I hope you guys liked it. I know I appreciated having a few minutes to look over an analysis mode.
Yeah, I basically hadn't analyzed it for about a year, and this gave me a chance to. I don't really know why I was putting it off. But, yeah, feel free to leave comments about what I can improve on, and if you enjoyed it, and had any suggestions if I make later videos in the future. Alright, thanks guys. Bye.